Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a plan with me for the week of January 9th through the 15th, 2023 in my B5 Archer and Olive notebook. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. For this week's plan with me, I'll be going with a vertical layout in my B5 Archer and Olive notebook. I'll be using these splatter stamps from Amazon, these circle stamps from Ink Road Stamps, these Harry Potter stamps from Ink Road Stamps, these letter stamps from Studio Calico, these number stamps from Studio Calico, these Days of the Week stamps from Everyday Explorers Co. I'll be using 4 different colored Distress Oxides, and I'll also be using my black VersaFine ink. Really excited about trying out a vertical spread. I very rarely do vertical spreads anymore, and I think the last time I did was at the end of October, early November when I went on vacation. I am going with a little bit of a different vertical spread this time around though. I usually will divide my sheet or each side of my spread into 3 columns and have Saturday and Sunday share a column. But this time around, I really wanted to do some deco vertically along the left hand page of the spread. So I decided to divide each page into 4 columns instead. Definitely makes the area that you have to write in pretty narrow, but I think that I can make it work. What I'm doing first is stamping out the dates for Monday through Sunday, and to vary things up a little bit, I actually decided to use my 4 different colored inks and utilize them as a way to match my work schedule. So Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, I'm in the same office for work, so I'm using pink for that color. I'm in a different office on Wednesdays, so I'm using purple. I'm in a third office on Thursdays, so I'm using blue. And then for the weekend, when I'm not working, I'm using green. I thought this was a fun way to incorporate all 4 of the colors that I'm using in this spread, and also to kind of vary things up in a bit of a unique way. I always feel like stamping out the dates takes me forever. It genuinely does. And as you can tell, I'm not exactly the best at doing it. There's definitely some unevenness going on, both in terms of the spacing between the 2 digits on those 2-digit numbers, but also like things not being at the same height. But that's okay. I decided for the days of the week, I was going to use these abbreviated script stamps from Everyday Explorers Co. And the way I'm laying them out, I'm having them overlap on top of the dates just a little bit. You can still make out the dates for each day of the week, but I thought this was a bit of a unique way to layer these stamps on top of each other. I didn't want to put the days of the week like completely over the dates because I just think they wouldn't have been bright enough. I probably would have had to like swap the colors and do the dates in black and days of the week in color to do that. As you can see with Friday, that F does overlap quite a bit and it is hard to make out the 1. So I'm glad I went with this. I do like the way that it came out. I think it's unique and different. I've never done the date and days of the week like this before. And once I get Sunday down, I am going to flip my notebook so that I can work on some deco on the leftmost area of the spread. It will be vertical deco, but I'm doing it this way horizontally because I think it'll just make it a little easier for me as I'm putting this together. I'm starting out with my favorite splatter stamp from Amazon, and I put that down in the blue Distress Oxide, which I believe is called Broken China. I'm now going to use 3 different circle stamps here to create a little cluster. So I'm using the picked Raspberry Distress Oxide for the grid. I used the shaded lilac for this kind of like messy circle, and then I'm using, I think it's called Lucky Clover, the green color. Love the way that those colors kind of all go together. Love the look of stamping these different circle stamps in a cluster. And now I'm going to bring in some deco from these Harry Potter stamps from Ink Road Stamps. And I'm starting out with a broom. And in my mind, I want this deco to look good visually, horizontally, and vertically, depending on how you're looking at this spread. So I do have that in mind as I'm putting these stamps down. Next, I decided to put down a letter stamp, basically to signify when Harry was getting his letter from Hogwarts at 4 Privet Drive. And then now I'm going to stamp January using these stamps from Studio Calico. I did have a little bit of an error here. I didn't stamp down that J hard enough, and especially since the J is kind of overlapping on all of those colored stamps, it's very difficult to make out because of that. So I did end up going back after I finished this plan with me and filling in the area of the J that didn't stamp down, and it definitely made it a lot easier to tell what the J was and realize that it was part of this word here. Once I have the Y down, we're kind of done with this little cluster I've created along the side here. I am going to create another cluster in the bottom right corner of the spread. And actually, I think I actually do a little bit more here. I remembered that I wanted to put that it was the second week of the year, and so I'm using this weekend stamp from Everyday Explorers Co. I only put ink on the week part, and since I'm only putting ink on the week part, that's all that you see stamped down. And then I ended up taking a 2 from that set that I used to put the dates for the days of the week, and instead of putting it in black because it was going to overlap on the letters, I put it in blue. Part of me kind of wants to go back and outline it in black, that way it does stand out a little bit more, but I haven't done that at this point. Now we're in the bottom right corner, and I'm taking that splatter stamp again, but using the shaded lilac Distress Oxide instead of the Broken China color. I am going to stamp this down twice, that way there's plenty of splatter going on in this bottom corner. I know that I want to use a specific quote stamp in this bottom corner, but I do want to layer down the same 3 circle stamps again. I did switch up the colors again just to vary things from the other cluster to this one. So we have this messy circle in the green, we have that kind of loopy circle in the pink, and then we'll do the grid circle in the blue color. Now that I have those 3 circle stamps down, I'm going to take this quote stamp that is a quote from Luna Lovegood, and I am going to stamp that down. I love Luna. She's one of my favorite characters in Harry Potter, so I knew I wanted to include this quote stamp in this plan with me. And now that I have that quote down, I definitely want to include a little bit more in the way of deco. So I did hesitate on putting down the sorting hat stamp because it is super dark, and I was worried it was going to get lost because of how dark it is. I don't know. You guys tell me if you feel like you can make out what it is. I feel like you kind of sort of can't. But I did also put down a wand in that corner, and part of me wishes I would have put a third piece of deco on the other side of the quote, but I didn't, and I never went back and added to it, and I think in the end it looks fine. To add a little bit to the top left corner of the spread, I put down my favorite splatter stamp, this time in green, and I'm not going to include a quote up there, but I am going to go back and include some more deco. Before I do that, I'm in the bottom left corner again. I added a little bit more of splatter down just because I wanted to include a quote with this cluster as well, and I decided to put down the Mischief Managed quote, which is one of my absolute favorite quotes from Harry Potter. I actually have a Mischief Managed tattoo. I love that quote so much, or that saying so much. Now I'm back in the top left corner and I am putting down a lightning bolt stamp. I'm also going to put down I think they're called Spectra Specs. I think I'm saying that right, but the glasses that Luna Lovegood wears that she got from the Quibbler, and then Harry Potter's glasses. And I did notice that there was some initial stamps in this stamp set, so I decided to put Ron Weasley's initials down, Harry Potter's initials down, and then I realized they didn't include Hermione's, which is baffling to me. Why include Ron and Harry's initials and not Hermione's? So you're going to notice that after I put my stamps away, I'm actually going to use my pen to just put a little HG in that cluster up there for Hermione. Now that I have all of that deco down, all we have to do is put some lines in to separate each day of the week. So I'm going on in with my Pigma Micron to do that. You'll notice as I'm putting these lines in just how narrow those columns are. Again, I'm hoping I can make this work, but it'll definitely be a bit of a trial. If I don't like the way, or I feel like it's too difficult to write in this during the week, then you'll definitely never see me do this 4 column situation again, and I'll just go to 3 columns and split Saturday and Sunday. But I wanted to give this a try. I did debate putting a line between the deco on the left and Monday, but in the end felt like it looked weird if I didn't. So I'm going to add in that final line here, and then we're going to be done with this Plan With Me. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. As always, be safe. Bye-bye.